Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, e buonasera, Lazio world. Welcome to your instant reaction pod. Consider this your stoppage time as we review Lazio Bologna. I'm your host, Sean McIntosh, rejoined by my boy, Caleb Adams. Caleb,
What's
it
up?
has been what seems like an eternity, my God,
It has.
between international break, which, I'll say it seems to be getting a ton of hate these days. I quite enjoyed international break. One, just the stress of Lazio, little bit of a pause. It was nice to see Rovella get his much needed, deserved call up, getting a start, and just kind of sitting back. But you and I, between work, kind of schedules not aligning for you and I to be on a lot of those midweek matches that we seem to have been getting a ton of between Europa and Serie A. Great to see you, my friend. How the heck are you?
It is. I've been really good, man. I've been really good. I've been enjoying a little bit of the break. It kind of sucks, but it's also a nice little breather for everything. I think I had no games. Charlotte FC, none for Lazio, none for the Panthers. Only the Hurricanes were playing, so it was a really chill sort of. My wife definitely enjoyed it. Full undivided attention, but it's good to be back.
Yeah, man, and back we are. This one, it it was maybe international break wasn't the best time for Lazio. You saw a different side for a lot of the first, I don't know, 50, 60 minutes or so. But let's jump into this one. Starting off the bat, your starting 11. A few changes. You see Baroni going with a 4-3-3 in this one. Gila Romagnoli, your center back pairing. Pellegrini starting at left back. Nuno Tavares picking up a knock in his international debut for Portugal. Lazzari on the right, your midfield trio of Vecino, Rovella, and Guendouzi. And then your three in attack, Zaccagni on the left, Tati Castellanos leading the line with Pedro as your starting winger here. It really was a first half that for the first 35 minutes, I would say largely uneventful. A Lazio that seemed a little bit out of it, but then in the 35th minute, you see an absolutely idiotic attempt at a tackle by Pobega on Bologna, sliding in two-footed in his own attack, catching Guendouzi, picks up his second yellow, really has nothing to argue on that front. Sees reds, and then Lazio obviously able to play a bit of a different game from there on out. You see, a halftime sub. Romagnoli subbed off at half for Gigot. I know both you and I a little unsure as to why. Would love to hear from any of our followers. If you're listening in live on YouTube, chat in, let us know. We weren't provided any information. Frank here on YouTube is saying the same thing. Any news on Romagnoli? Must have been subbed off because of a knock or something. You and I really just assuming that it was cautionary, but no real information as to why he was subbed off. So that was a big halftime sub. I think at the 60th minute, you see a couple subs that probably turn the match a bit. You see Isaacson coming in for Pedro, Vecino taken out for Dia, and a shift to a 4-2-3-1. 6 minutes later, you see a goal from a beautiful ball that Rovella plays to Tati, who then finds Dia with a bold, audacious, dangerous way of finding the back of the net. Unfortunately, ruled offside. Tati just a bit late coming on. And then 2 minutes later, Gigot from Gigot off of a corner finds the back of the net, a really, really nice corner from Zaccagni. And then a handful of minutes later, a Zaccagni goal, nice little Pellegrini involvement there, clean finish from our captain to make it 2-0. And then to seal the deal, 92nd minute, a really nice release from Chauna to play Isaacson, who really a little bit hard done, I would say. I think he gets clipped. I think he's probably going to earn a penalty, but Dele Bashiru, really, really well done to follow it up. Finds the back of the net, 3-0 Lazio. Caleb, your 3 words or less to describe this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with depth, discipline, desire. These 3 right now seem to be the principles of this team, and I think today was a really good example of that. Um, we were missing guys like Nuno Tavares, who I kind of came into this match thinking, okay, this is going to be a great little test to see where the goals are going to come from. And Bologna is no slouch of a team either. I think this is only their second loss of the season. Um, and so it's going to be it was a good test, and I was very curious to see, okay, where are these goals going to come from? Who's going to be the creator? Because Nuno has become our primary creator at this point. And we saw guys like Pellegrini step up, had a fantastic game, got an assist in the match. We saw the substitute players come in and make the difference. That's where the depth comes in. And the discipline part is defensively, even though offensively we look kind of, rusty, we did not miss a beat defensively. I thought our man press today was ridiculously good. I thought it was pretty much perfect. Rovella was a big, big component of that. This man system really suits players like Rovella. And even guys like Dati benefit from it because these guys are willing to press, stay tight on their markers. And today I thought everyone was disciplined with their markers, from Vecino to Rovella to Guendouzi to the fullbacks. We saw Lazzari and Pellegrini stepping up, winning the ball, making interceptions, starting counterattacks that way. That all comes from the discipline on defense. And then, of course, the last part is desire, which is you can have all the organization that you may want. You still got to want to win the game. You still got to have that passion and that push to keep pushing because, it was getting frustrating at times for some of the players because we had all this pressure, but it wasn't creating anything. Yet we're a team that even though we get the lead, we push for a second goal, we push for a third one. So I think those are the 3 core principles that define this team, and I thought today was a great example of that. And I do want to add one little nugget. Speaking of depth, a fun little fact is Lazio have scored the joint most goals with substitute players in all the big 5 European leagues. So we're tied with Paris Saint-Germain at 8 goals from our substitute players. It's a fun little fact.
I love that fact, and it nicely segues into my 3 words: any means necessary. This side doing it in so many different shapes, ways, sizes, players, tactics, formations, you name it. Ugly, beautiful, free flowing, stagnant. I mean, they are finding ways to get it done, regardless of the situation, regardless of the competition. Again, any way you slice it and dice it, Lazio is finding their way to 3 points, which is something that has really just not something to be expected. And I mean, we talked a little bit about this, but and this look, up a man, sure, but Bologna was unbeaten in their last 9, no slouch. Lazio now 7 wins in a row. 11 wins out of 12 in all competition. The only loss inside of that window was that one to Juve where we were down a man, where we really felt good about how we played. So, and
this 70 minutes too.
Exactly. And this isn't unbeaten. These are wins. 7 wins in a row, 11 out of 12. Simply a Lazio side that is starting to build an identity, and that identity is not staked in like how we play. That identity is now just results. Because a lot of what that first half was really like toothless in attack. It wasn't a side that was what we were used to seeing. It was one that was maybe a little bit off of its rhythm, and you love to see that Baroni has the trust in different players, can make a tactical change, But I think your point about the defense is absolutely critical. Expected goals. Lazio 2.0 to Bologna's 0.07. Lazio 13 shots, Bologna 3 shots. Bologna only 1 shot on frame to Lazio's 4. Shows really nice, obviously, clinical finishes. Lazio with 3 big chances. Bologna, none. Possession 70% to 30%. This is just a side that even when you think about so many of the games this year, expected goals are won, but we're not giving up a ton of expected goals. It's crazy. So you really love to see it.
I want to add to that. I think what's been really impressive about our defense is it's one thing to be a team like Bologna or in the past a Lecce, where they'll sit back in a low block and just be solid. It's one thing to do that. It's one thing to do what we do, which is we're not like playing it safe on defense. We take a lot of risks, but there are a lot of calculated risks. How many times do we see Rovella or our fullbacks going into the other half of the field, right? Onto their half of the field. How many times do we see guys pushing up way high? Yet when we're in transition, I'm like, we're good. Our rest defense has been excellent. Like the way that Baroni has set up the press to where it looks it's a high press, and most people say that's risky. But when we lose the ball, right, or even when we win it back, the way our guys are positioned, it's in a position where they aren't exposed and they can cover. And so I think that's what's been most impressive about the defensive side is that we're not just like sitting back and transitioning, which I think a lot of people thought they were going to do with Baroni. You know, he came from these sort of relegation sides. People assumed Baroni would come in here and just kind of just sit in a low block and play some counter-attacking football. We can do that, but guess what? We can also high press. We can possess the ball. Just as you said, we're finding different ways. We're just finding a mean to find wins. And real quick too, confirmed on Twitter. There was a journalist, a Spanish journalist who covers Serie A. It was a knock on Romagnoli.
Okay, knock in this match.
In this match from Pobega. A foul on Pobega to Romagnoli is the one that they believe is the one that kind of sidelined him. So yeah, it was an injury.
Got it. Yeah, and look to your point about pressing. I mean, we've got players that it can recover because of pace and then just understanding positioning. You think about a player like Gila, who is often finding himself in most situations under most teams would be kind of out of position just with a lot of the darting runs he makes, but he's got the pace to recover. I thought Pellegrini did a nice job on that front. You saw how high up the pitch he was so often today. You think about Nuno, who does that, but Nuno being a player with loads and loads of pace. I thought Pellegrini, who's not typically thought of when it comes to like his defensive prowess or his pace, thought he did a nice job there. And Rovella, look, I mean, Rovella is a player that provides that luxury all the way around because so often in the past we've talked about our defense and our midfield being sliced apart open like Swiss cheese. Rovella really cleans up a lot of that and allows for players to take a bit more risk because how strong he is in both his positional awareness and just his ability to like win the ball back. So what'd you
I
think
mean,
with the big thing? Because again, like, you know, I just thought that first half, even going up a man for the first 10, 15, 20 minutes up a man, I thought it was obviously we looked like the better side. We were owning possession, but just seemed a bit off. Like, what was the biggest change and biggest spark to you that brought this side to life?
it's a good question. I honestly, I don't really think it was anything special. I think it was just us continuing to do what we were doing. I mean, all it took was these moments. We were getting in the right areas. It was just individual moments of just like lack of sharpness. But there were openings, there were gaps that we were getting into throughout the first half. The difference is, second half, that pass was played sharper. That shot was curled in, you know, after a couple touches, right? Shauna had a great ball in behind that guess what? When it was received, it was a good first touch from Lazzari. Lazzi put a great little touch and dink to Saxon, right? For me, it was just execution. We did what we were doing in the first half, but we just that last little ball was all that was missing, and we got that right. I think the substitutes, of course, helped. For sure. I do think Isaksen, Shauna, brought in a little bit more oomph to the team, a little more energy to keep doing what we were doing. It was just let's keep blitzing people, keep doing the same thing, no rest. I just think that the final ball was sharper at the end.
Yeah, I think I mentioned a little bit of the tactical change. Bringing Dia on gave a little bit of extra life, particularly like Tati wasn't super sharp today.
Yeah.
So the luxury to have somebody like Dia who can be a big player and has been for us. And
He had malaria. I didn't know he was available because he got
so
malaria on
apparently,
international
so
break.
the initial reports were that he had malaria, but then after testing, he did not, because it would have been yeah, he wouldn't have healed from
I
that
was like,
as
how is this
quickly.
man playing
Yeah,
right now?
no, for sure. So he did not have malaria.
Again,
But
turd.
the other thing I really go back to is that first goal came from what? A set piece, a corner.
Mm,
How
mm,
atrocious we had been on corners.
mm.
And
Yep.
we've said this before, but when things aren't going well, and or you're not finding the back of the net, it's easy to get
Mm.
frustrated. Like, it's not going well. Where's that goal gonna come from when you can bag a goal, or at least put yourself in a position to find something? That's what turned it all around, right? Zaccagni plays a
That's a good
really
point. Yeah.
nice, dangerous ball in. Shigo just is in the right place at the right time, and it's just like, I don't know. We didn't have that, and it was such a downer in years past to be like, it's not going well. We earn a big corner, and then Luis Alberto either tries to score it direct, or it's just such a poorly executed corner that it just frustrates everybody. So I thought that was big.
No, I love that you mentioned that, and I just calculated it. I just looked up how many set piece goals we have in league play compared to our goals across the board. So we have scored a total of 28 goals in league play. Six of those have come on set pieces. That accounts for 21% of our goals.
Wow.
I mean, that is a fat chunk of our goals
Yep.
coming from again from a team that, oh my good, part of it's Alberto not taking the set
And
piece. To be
you know
fair,
what makes it worse, Caleb? Here's what makes it worse. All right. You tell me, Luis Alberto, he's taken for years. I
yeah,
hate when people act like they know better than a manager who's been in this game, but for years. We're all like, come on, man, we're seeing the same thing. We're seeing the same thing, right? And it's not as if we get rid of Luis Alberto and we brought in Pirlo, who's like all of a
right,
sudden the
right.
people that are taking our corners have been on this team for the past 2 years at least. It's Zaccagni, Rovella. Like, they could have been taking these
And
the
I
past two
think
years.
Lazio is taking some too.
I don't know if maybe I don't. Maybe
And I think
it was Zaccagni. I mean, usually it's Zaccagni taking them. Sometimes you'll have Rovella taking
right.
them. Rovella even taking them for the national team now. So, again, guys that have been on our team for 2-3 years, while having to watch what we've been watching, they just had an upfront ticket to watch it. And I'm sure it had to be devastatingly frustrating for them watching their teammate Luis Alberto, who had comments about Lazio and Lotito this week. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Give me your man of the match today.
this is really tough. It was something that Charlotte FC's head coach Dean Smith says. He says, I'd rather have a team instead of having a team of or players that have 10 out of 10 performances, but then get 3 out of 10 performances in the next round. I'd rather have a team that has seven performances of 7 to 8 out of 10 every single game. Right? I thought this was one of those games where everyone was at a 7 or 8 level or higher. I mean, I thought everyone was really locked in for the most part. I would say, though, in terms of the scale relative to the teammates, I think oof, this is really tough for me because I think it was easier for Bidone than it is a man of the match.
Really?
I think it's easier Bidone than it is man of the match for me personally. Uh,
Okay.
so you think you might say Ravella?
No,
Is that a
so
teaser?
yeah,
Say yours, and then
okay.
I'll say mine.
Yeah, so look, I think for me it was easier because I thought there were some really good shouts for it. Again, I do have a beat on it, and it was between two. But for me, when I think about this one, like, look, it was, there's a couple players I'll name who I'm not giving it to. But I thought Lazzari in the first half, especially, like very, very dangerous, very lively. He was flying up and down that flank. I thought Zaccagni, this Zaccagni is just a perfect captain, right? It just seems like when you need it, he's always gonna be solid. But then when you need that little touch of class, and that's where he brings. He's able to score. The goal that he scored is just like everything we were missing, like just a little touch of finishing class. Rovella for me was in the debate, but I'm going to award it to somebody else because it's a big match. Rovella for me is just, look, obviously everybody that listens to this or anybody that knows me knows how high I am on him. He's my favorite player in the world right now. He's that 8 out of 10 player that you're saying. Like every single match, he's just there. He's never going to dip to a certain place, though I do think he has these world-class performances. They're just never going to get talked about on a world stage or an ESPN FC because the rest of the
Right,
world only looks at statistics and really only two
right.
stats. They're going to look at assists and goals. If you're not doing those two things, you're nobody. But that's fine because he can be a nobody to the rest of the world. We don't need the rest of the world to notice what Nicolo Rovella is doing because we want him on our side for a very, very long time.
Right,
But I'm
right.
going to give my man of the match to Pellegrini because we've talked about him as a player, not understanding why he wasn't getting playing opportunities. Again, a head scratcher because we're watching this dude and we're saying to everybody that'll listen to this podcast, like, we don't get it. He's pretty good. We're not saying he is the best left back in the world. We're not even
Yeah.
saying he has to be a starter for Lazio, but we see something
Mhm.
there. He's definitely capable. It's kind of insane that you keep rolling out Hisai and you're rolling out players. We're injured and you're not giving him a chance. And then when he plays in a Champions League match, he's done well enough, serviceable, pretty good sometimes. And today, Nuno Tavares injured, gets another opportunity, plays really, really well, picks up an assist, is a part of the play, distributes a ton of really dangerous balls. I thought he was really solid in defense. Just an all around great, great teammate today. So for me, he's my man of the match. Love to see him just when he gets the call up. He's never complained about lack of playing time and always shows up and plays pretty well. So Pellegrini, my man of the match.
Great. Yeah, I just go Rebella then. For all the reasons that you said, he was, I mean, phenomenal today. I genuinely, when it comes to strictly ball winning in the world right now, I think he has a really strong case for him to be top 5 in the world.
I
And
said
that
it
may
last year.
that's not
Ball winning midfielder, best in. I
in
was
terms of
like,
just if Rovella can expand on his passing game and really start getting, being able to do some deep line playmaking from that spot, in combination with that ball winning and hustle and positioning and recovery speed. Oh my goodness, there's
and
a
I think
very
he
strong
has.
case.
I know you've been talking about that since early last year, and I think he's made big strides in that area. Two balls he plays today that were just fantastic. In the 54th minute, he plays this ball over the top to Tati, on a dime, and Tati kind of does a little bit of your classic Argentine, like feels a little bit of contact and goes down just a little bit early. Now, I couldn't tell if he's like maybe trying to play it off the volley. I think he might have got clipped. The ref wasn't going to give it to him, but it was a dime. And then the one where Tati was offside that he plays really quickly, just knowing and understanding. I just thought those were two great balls that he's now adding that element where he's just picking up his like thinking a lot quicker.
Oh yeah, I think that's the main thing was thinking quicker because even though he may have the capabilities of it, there's so much that goes into passing, which is vision. Your technical ability, can you actually physically do it? Then of course, how quickly can you do it and do it consistently? And like this guy's 22 years old. Like I mean, we have not seen the best of him yet,
Which is
which is
crazy.
insane, which is crazy because he plays like a seasoned pro. I mean, he plays like someone who's 26 in their prime. So it's really, really exciting. If I mean, I hope no one's paying attention to Lazio because if they really are paying attention, there should be some top clubs, and the best clubs in the world should be looking at him. And so yeah, he was excellent today. And to kind of also back up what we're saying here, I just quickly looked him up on FB and he is in the 97th percentile in tackles per 90. At 3.81 tackles per 90, puts him at a 97th percentile in the world, at a top five league, sorry. So I mean, this guy is has elite defensive numbers. Also 92nd percentile, better than 92% of the world of the top five leagues in interceptions per 90. So it's not just the eye test, the data backs it up too. But yeah, I mean, wow, what a player.
Yeah, it's crazy when you say 22. Like it just again, like I
It's
know
just
he's
what?
young. Every time I hear it, I'm like, wait a minute, like it's it's crazy. And look, now he's doing it on the national team. I mean, he had two matches, one start, one coming off the bench, in which, for Italy, everything changed when Rovella came into the game. You're starting to get a little bit more chatter from everybody else that is now, Serie A, Azzurri fans that are watching this guy. And when I think about the national team, that midfield all of a sudden becomes one of the best midfields in the
Yeah,
world
yeah,
with no debate. You've got Barella and Tonali who are world class, like both of those guys, and Barella continues to do it. Tonali is doing it. Tonali, who was out of the side during Euros, so you see the insertion of him. But you add that missing regista that's going to allow Barella and Tonali to operate a little bit more freely. That to me, that is a midfield that can win trophies. And then you throw in, I know there'll probably be a debate for a while of Ricci. Telling everybody, you just keep watching Rovella, and Ricci's a really, really good player, so you can alternate. But what Rovella
yeah.
does to clean things up, he's the best at it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a midfield of the decade. I mean, very easily. You guys could run that for a while. So it's
Yep,
exciting stuff.
absolutely. Yep. On the flip, Caleb, the bearer of bad news. Who are you dubbing our bidone? I think there's two guys kind of clear, but curious to hear.
Okay, interesting. There was two for me. We may differ on the two, but I think we're aligned on one, and I'm going to say the one. And mine was Tati Castellanos.
It's one of
I
mine.
thought I thought that he was. It was also. I mean, it was. Tati had a. It was. I don't know. He was just off. He was just off today. He also seemed a little more frustrated today. Like Tati's the kind of guy who we've all appreciated that. He kind of puts his head down, puts the work in, doesn't isn't complaining, just gets back up next play. And don't get me wrong, of course, he was still hustling out there. He was still doing his thing. Um, but I think he's a little. I think the not scoring a goal in a while now is starting to weigh on him. And I think that frustration is coming in. And he had a big opportunity, really big opportunity, where he could use that great heading ability of his to put that away, open up the game. He was literally inches away
Yep.
from scoring that. I thought it was in. He,
Yeah.
he hit that. I was
No,
like, oh, money.
the 56 minute where Zaccagni plays in the nice ball to Vecino, who chips it up to Tati. And
Yeah,
and that's, kind of my big frustration with Tati is always that he will do 90% of, like, he does
right.
the things that are like missing from so many other players, kind of
Yeah,
understands where to be, fights, makes runs. For a player that doesn't have a ton of height, he has the physical ability to
yep,
outleap so many players, does everything well. And then it's like, there's no keeper in sight, frame wide open. And he just misses just a little bit, and that is kind of the story of Tati. And I told you last year I just thought he was a player that he just kind of lost a little bit of his confidence, to where I think he started to shy away from putting himself in positions, because those are the things he
mm,
does really well. So I hope that he can bag a couple goals and get back to that confidence, because I don't want to see him shy away.
no, and I think this year's a little different too because I think last year every time he missed a chance, every time opportunity, he had Cheeto sniffing on his neck, right? Baroni has clearly shown a lot of belief in Tati. I think Tati feels that belief, and I think that's what will allow him to sort of supersede that. And there's, I think, maybe a little bit less pressure on him for that matter. So I think he can have a little more freedom in that aspect. So I think he will bounce back. With that said, you know, yeah, it's unfortunate because he did get that. It would have been a great way. He'd working all game long.
Yeah.
Great opportunity, just kind of get that goal again, get back on the road, and also unfortunate too because I wanted to see that replay on the offside goal on Dia because Tati does make he works to try and get back on the onside position, and we never saw a line,
They
but
showed the
it was really close.
semi-automatic. They showed the semi-automatic, and
Oh, did it? Oh, okay, I
yeah,
missed that then
yeah.
because
They
I was
ended up
that
coming
was pretty
back
close.
because I was wondering too. Initially, I thought maybe it was Dia that was offside. I didn't think it was Tati, and then they showed the semi-automatic, and he was a bit offside. Yeah,
So, again, it's just like frustrating. He gets this great little ball, little flick right into the space. There's a tiny little pocket to do that. Hit it, goal. But yeah, I mean, on the day, definitely one of the poor performances, one of the poor performers on the day.
yeah. No, I think by and large it's probably Tati. The other one I threw in there was Pedro, who obviously has
Yeah,
just been
same.
absolutely fantastic. I think he just was a little bit more invisible today. It didn't seem as much of a mix in the play as he had been. So he was the other one for you. Was yours any different with that second guy?
It was Pedro as well. Yeah.
Okay. So, now just a live look at the Serie A table for anybody that wants to debate best league in the world. I think there are so many factors that go into that. Maybe we'll just call it the most entertaining league in the world. All you got to do is take a look at our table here, just the congestion for the top 1 through 7, 8. Napoli sitting in first now. This is after 13 matches. You've got Napoli with 29 points, Atalanta, Inter, Fiorentina, and Lazio all tied for second with 28 points. Lazio, with the way the tiebreakers are falling, sees themselves in fifth. So you've got Napoli, Atalanta, Inter, Fiorentina, Lazio, now sitting 3 points ahead of Juve. And then you've got Milan at 19 points. Milan a game in hand, as well as Bologna down there in eighth with 18 points. And our cross-city rivals, the second team of Rome, 13 points after 13 matches. You gotta love it, Caleb. Taking
Insane.
a
Yeah.
quick look at the matches to come. Really an opportunity to hopefully pick up a few more points before the fixtures start getting a little bit tougher. So we talked about this road to needing to pick up and maximize our points before the fixtures get really, really tough. Well, we do have a nice little look. I always football is supposed to be Thanksgiving and football. Well, we've got a nice little match for us. Lazio playing on Thanksgiving Day, midweek
Hell
match
yeah.
this November. Lazio Ludogorets and Europa League match, and then Sunday, December 1st against Parma. Before a midweek Thursday, December 5th match against Napoli in Coppa Italia, who we then turn around 3 days later and play in Serie A before Ajax and then Inter. So this stretch gets pretty tough. Caleb, what are your expectations going into this really, really tough set of fixtures early in December?
Yeah, so I actually talked about this on the last pod, and I think that as of right now, um, I believe there is no benefit to finishing seating wise in Europa. So if you finish 1 to 8, you automatically qualify to the knockouts. That's the goal. And then you have to play, if you go beneath that, you have to play some extra games to get into that. So as far as I'm aware, when I was checking last time, there's no benefit to finishing first in Europa or eighth.
Hmm.
Okay. With that said, I think that should definitely dictate sort of how we approach that. I do think, like, particularly with the matches we have coming up, which aren't too challenging, I think the most difficult one we have is Ajax. And even Ajax are not really the Ajax of 5 years ago. This is not even a dominant team in their
They are
division anymore.
second in Europa, though.
They are. They are. I mean, that's fair. But at the same time, again, when I'm looking at these matches, when I said, what am I prioritizing? Who do I want our best 11 for? I'm okay with continuing our rotation in Europa. I'm okay with still
Yeah,
pushing out
absolutely.
Dele Bashiru, that squad, that contingent Shauna. Keep giving them reps in Europa. We have nothing to lose and everything to gain from those guys continuing to play there in that competition, which is great. It's been working up until now. Let's keep it going and we start our best 11 in these games against Napoli. Napoli is interesting too because I think we actually get a bit of a break between the last. Did we get a break from after Napoli? Check
Let's
for me.
see.
From what I
So
recall, we get a
after,
break
so
after
we've
the.
got Napoli on in Coppa Italia on December 5th. 3 days
Okay,
later, December 8th. Then we've
right?
got Ajax on the 12th, and then
Yes.
Inter on the 16th.
Okay, I'm mistaken. That is point. I think
It's
I
it's
think
pretty
regardless,
yeah, it's pretty
it is.
congested. This early set of December fixtures, our break comes in, and it's not really because then you've got so after that Inter match on the 16th, you've got what 5 days later you've got Lecce, and then you've got what seems like a break because it's a full 7 days between Lecce, and then December 28th, you've got Atalanta before we finally get to the Derby on January 5th. So it's
So
no
the
real
break.
break in there. It's going to require that rotation, and
Mhm.
now we'll see. I'm with you 1,000%. Keep the squad that we've had in these Europa League matches. I think you're correct in saying like just find your way 1 through 8. It doesn't matter. You don't need to finish
Locked
at the
in now.
top, though it is pretty congested. So when it comes to Europa, we're first on the in the table with 12 points, but that eighth place is at 9 points. So it's
I
one
think
match
that's true.
difference. So
That's
again,
true.
any you drop this midweek match, right? And then all of a sudden you got Ajax, you happen to drop both, we could be out of that seeding. So yeah,
That's fair. I think beating Ludogorets puts us in a good spot. However, I
agreed.
think the trickiest portion of this stretch is going to be the Napoli in the same week. And my approach personally would be you play your best team both matches, and then you sit them for Ajax game after that. And then you
Mm,
start your best 11 again against Inter. That's how I would approach it personally.
yeah,
So, for example, we have Parma before that. Against Parma, you do maybe sort of a mix starters, non starters, or you at least take out starters quickly and sub them out early. Then you start Napoli, the best 11 you can. You do the best 11 again, and then you rest for Ajax. And then you have 4 days for the starters to prepare for Inter. That's how I would approach it personally. So the
yeah.
starters play three, and the rest is for two.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, look, Ludo Goretz should be a side. Again, give the guys minutes that have found their way into Europa League matches. Parma should be one that you can rotate. You shouldn't need your strongest squad, and then it's a decision on how you approach Coppa Italia. I think whatever the decision there is, I mean that December 8th match is everything. That is the true litmus test for this side, and
Yep.
you come out of that and Inter with some results. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I might start talking a little crazy.
No
So
Scudetto talk.
I said we got to get we'll see. We get past these two, I'm willing to get a little bit crazy with it. So we'll see. But we gotta we
Yo,
gotta
we're,
find.
we're gonna we went from talking about, man, we'll be lucky if we squeeze like eighth or seventh this season to, hey,
Yeah,
top
but
four is a
hey, this is a
possibility
new
to now, hey,
reality.
top four is the expectation to now we'll
I'm
see
saying
after that.
if it happens, right? I think you're allowed to start kind of like what is this side like? Is it possible to dream? I think it puts a whole heck of a ton of pressure on Lotito come January because it becomes a very, I mean, you want to talk about protests. If, again, this is all hypothetical, I'm getting way too far ahead of myself. But if this side, who looks really strong, a ton of fun, is giving us reason to wake up at 6 a.m., if they happen to beat Napoli and then beat Inter, the two teams who look to be, your coin flip between who takes away the Scudetto this year, with the way we're playing, with that litmus test to say, hold on, everybody, like maybe you should be looking at us. We go into January without any changes, given our midfield depth, given Castrovilli's injury. Look, I was against everybody protesting Lotito, and I think he's maybe pumped the brakes a little bit on a lot of the hate for this season. But I'm willing to pick up the pitchfork if we look like a side who could really, really compete, and you don't do anything about it. But we'll wait till we get there, and we'll definitely have some podcasts to talk about it. Cool. Well, Caleb, this was great. A lot of fun. We gonna record on Thanksgiving?
What time is the game again?
I think that match is at 9:45 a.m.
There's no way, right?
No way for
I'm
you?
driving. I'm driving out of
Okay.
town. Yeah, for
All right.
family.
So I may go at that one alone. I'll take a break from the cooking and we'll do a quick recap. Hopefully the vibes are high. Thanksgiving Day. Make sure you follow us across our social media platforms. We go live immediately on YouTube after every match. We upload the audio formats across all audio podcasts, wherever you listen, your Apples, your Spotify's, whatever. Download, check us out, give us those 5-star ratings, a